to another episode of the Stir Fry Let It Fly podcast, where we talk NBA. James here with Will and Cyrus, and we're currently recording from an undisclosed location in the Greater Vancouver area. Remember to follow us on @StirFryPod on Twitter and Instagram. Cyrus?
Hi, this is Cyrus, forever the Rosen hater.
And this is Will, forever Westbrook hater, because he just sucks so bad. And this episode of the Stir Fry Let It Fly podcast is brought to you by Haley Giselle Skincare and their all caviar infused collection. Be naturally beautiful.
Okay, guys, so today we are going to talk about a couple of things. Let's talk first with the buyouts. So the NBA buyout deadline is coming up, and lately a couple of big names have been, or big-ish names have been kind of changing locations. A couple of ones that really stand out, you've got Reggie Jackson moving from the Detroit Pistons over to the Los Angeles Clippers, who already picked up Marcus Morris via the trade deadline from New York. And then you've got Jeff Green and DeMar Carroll moving to the Houston Rockets and their small ball lineup. Then you've got Markieff Morris, twin brother of Marcus Morris, going to the Los Angeles Lakers. So guys, do any of these names change the landscape of the championship and the playoffs?
I think what Clippers is doing right now is trying to show they are more determined to win this year than Lakers. Because whoever Lakers won, Clippers steal it.
I mean, starting from the trade deadline, I think obviously Clippers has more ammunition to get Marcus Morris compared to Lakers, because they weren't willing to give up Kuzma and they have no picks left. So that kind of start things off. And I'm actually surprised that Reggie Jackson signed for the Clippers instead of Lakers, because they really needed a secondary point guard.
They did.
So this kind of tells everybody that player-wise, or at least himself-wise, that Clipper has upper edge in Lakers if they were to play against each other.
Well, I think, to your point, like, it also speaks to sort of how all the other players are seeing the cultures. Like, once upon a time, Kevin Durant made a comment about how players don't really want to play with LeBron because there's so much extra pressure, right? There's so much more media scrutiny, everything. Like, when things are going good, it's because of LeBron. And when things suck, it's because of the other players, right?
Okay.
And Kevin Love talked about this too. And so if you're a player who's been bought out, you're thinking Clippers, Lakers. Which place? I mean, you're still in LA, right? And both are championship caliber. But it seems like culture-wise, the Clippers just seem like kind of an easier start.
Or maybe because of the coach, Doc Rivers is easier to be his player. You know?
Maybe. I mean, I think Frank Vogel is not a bad coach. Like, the Lakers are first in the West, not just because their two superstars are that fantastic, but also because they've all bought in on defense.
Okay.
And that's also why they're winning games. I do think, though, that was a big loss for the Lakers, because you're right, Will, like, they did need a ball handler to take the pressure off, somebody who can make plays for other people when LeBron's not on the court.
But I always see how come Rondo cannot do that for Lakers? He used to be a really good ball general. He can do that for Lakers.
Well, I think with Rondo, because of his age, it's in spurts. So one, he's probably not as physically as athletic as he was back in the day, right? That's number one. But the other thing is, in terms of motivation, in terms of energy, and in terms of like just caring for the basketball games, like, it's probably not there right now. It could be there in the playoffs,
Okay.
thus playoff Rondo. But I think if you're the Lakers, like, it wouldn't be a good thing for you to just bank on that. I think you would want that secondary ball handler, and that's why they really wanted Darryl Collison.
Too bad he's not coming back.
Yeah. What about the other names, guys? So Houston Rockets pick up DeMar Carroll and Jeff Green.
I'm happy for Carroll because he's doing nothing in my Spurs. I don't know why, because Spurs over the summer signed him instead of Marcus Morris, I remember.
Yeah, well,
But
Morris bailed on them,
yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
And that's he's the substitute. But I expect that he can play. But so far, I do not see Coach Pop play him at all. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes in the garbage time. I'm happy to see him to sign with another team. But when you sign with Houston, play under Mike D'Antoni, I do not see he and Jeff Green will pay a lot of time doing playoff because D'Antoni is famous for using his 7 or 8 people lineup.
Yeah, but I think right now they're still trying to figure out who the consistent 3-point shooters are, and all the players are in short leash. So if they get hot, just like back in the days, House, Green, if they get hot, they will play him. So I think that's the strategy that Houston is playing. So they would keep the players on the floor if they're hot, and they would bench them if they're not. So it's good and bad, I guess.
I'm on board with that. Like, I really like these pickups for Houston because you're going all in on this small ball strategy, right? Again, no one really bigger than 6'8", 6'9", maybe. So you have guys like Jeff Green, who's your tallest guy on the court, guarding a center who's probably like got 3 or 4 inches on him, and yet so over the past 5 games, they really are playing really well. They're 4-1. With the one loss coming to the Utah Jazz on that buzzer beater by Bogdanovich. So you replay that scenario like 100 other times, and chances are they're going to win most of those. So really, the Houston Rockets are playing really well. It's a question of, is this strategy and is this team going to be good enough to win and go deep in the playoffs? So chances are, with the first round, they're going to face, the Jazz?
Utah, yes.
Yeah. I feel pretty good about their chances against the Jazz. But beyond that, that's the question.
So if they stay like 4th seed and 5th seed, the next round they're gonna face Lakers.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And granted, they did win against the Lakers with their small ball lineup, but I mean, I'd be worried if I was Houston because the Lakers are just so much more experienced. They're so much bigger. And at the end of the day, your superstars are better.
The other day, I saw some people ask Westbrook, do you have any other things to add to Houston to make it to a championship team? Westbrook just say we have enough. Or that's it.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
Well, what else is he supposed to say?
They're not going
Right?
to say.
He's not gonna grow any taller, right?
Yeah.
And he's not getting any younger.
And he's not going to he's not going to bash his team, right? Because if he says something else, it's going to be like, oh, this player's not enough.
Like Curry?
Yeah. Of course he's going to say that.
So will Westbrook still suck?
Yeah, I think the fact that he's playing well, stat-wise and maybe record-wise, it's short spurt. I don't think it's really gonna last in a 7-game series.
Okay, so this is where you get into the philosophical argument of, is there a big difference between playoff basketball and regular season basketball?
Oh, actually, one of my friends said that. So during the payoff, when the team doing after one game, they do a lot of scouting. So Houston might win game 1, but after game 1, Houston cannot Lakers might find out the shortage and the deficiency of Houston.
And this comes to coaching because the Houston coach is really not known for flexibility
and adjustment. I said that like in a couple episodes before. I really don't see Mike D'Antoni is the top tier of coach, based on his past performance in the payoff.
So I think you're right. Like, one of the big differences between regular season and playoffs is you play a team so many times, you get to know them so well because of scouting, because of just experience, right? The other thing that's different is the minutes assignments. So all of a sudden you go from having maybe a 9-man group that gets on the floor to maybe like a 6 or 7-man group. And those players, their minutes just go up. So maybe you have a guy like Russ and Harden who average 34, 35 in the regular season, and then they go up to 38, 39 in the playoffs. And that just means, whatever their tendencies are, get amplified. So the worst parts of their games, like Harden's over iso ball or Russ's terrible shot selection, you just see more of those if they're not going well. And that's what's going to be hard.
I think the only way that Houston can actually go deep in the playoff is if they have a bad shooting spurt that they're able to adjust by learning from a mistake from last year or last couple of years by maybe Russ driving in or James Harden throwing lobs.
Who gonna catch the lob right now?
Russ.
Okay.
Yeah, but here's what I will say. I do like Rocco better than I liked Ariza for Houston. Like, I think that Covington is a better shooter. He's
Yeah.
probably not as good of a defender as Ariza was back in the day, but I think he's a better shooter, and that's what Houston needs.
He's taller and his arms are
I think
longer.
Ariza is pretty tall. I think they're similar
Yeah.
height actually.
Covington has like a 7 feet wingspan though, which is good.
He's long.
Yeah. So guys, there are two other names. There is Markieff Morris, who just signed with the Lakers, and then there's Marvin Williams, who just signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Lakers and the Bucks are leading their respective conferences. Do these names make you feel like, hey, they're gonna for sure get to the championship and win the championship?
I don't think Marvin Williams is really gonna make that big of a difference as far as winning and losing is concerned.
You know, he's really old. I think he was drafted on 2004, if I remember correctly.
He's 33. He was a second overall pick for his. He was in the CP3 draft, right?
That means 2005.
Yeah, 2005, 2006.
Okay, the question is, does he still get minute when he played for Charlotte? Barely, right? If he doesn't contribute a lot in his previous team, I don't see he will do a lot for Bucks.
I don't actually agree with that just because, you play for a different team, different system.
Yeah, I think
Charlotte
might have wanted to go young.
Yeah, especially if you want to give your young player time. I'm not saying that he's going to get a lot of minutes in Milwaukee, but the fact that, if he, at his age, he should know his role, and his role is to win, and maybe that would garner another 2-3 year contract for him to stay in the league. This is pretty much his last chance, right?
Okay.
So he kind of need to buy into the system.
Yeah. Marvin Williams. So the Milwaukee Bucks right now are playing the Washington Wizards. They're up, obviously, but Marvin Williams has been getting good minutes.
Oh,
So right now he's got 17 minutes, and the game's not over. It's just in the third quarter.
Yeah, but playoff time is totally different, right?
It
so
is.
I mean, this 20-ish games left is going to be like an experiment to see if he can stay on the floor, defending wise and attacking wise.
Okay. Okay. So why don't we switch gears to this one? We have 25-ish games left to the season.
Yeah.
What's your most interesting team to watch and why? And you probably shouldn't say the Spurs because the Spurs are not going to be in the playoffs.
Oh, it's really exciting, but it's also really predictable because
Well, is it exciting? We're talking about the Spurs. Is it exciting though?
okay, the first two quarter is exciting, but then after like the third quarter, you know that no matter how many points they were ahead,
Yeah.
they will lose the game.
And I think right now the West is the 8th seed is pretty much down to Portland, New Orleans, and
Memphis.
Memphis. And the East is pretty much set. If James can check the stats and the standings,
Yeah.
I think the 8th seed Orlando has almost 3 games or 4 games.
3.5
on the
games
fourth.
ahead of the Wizards.
Yeah, and the Wizards and the what's 10th?
Chicago.
Chicago. So I think it's pretty much set for East.
Yeah.
And the West is down to 3 teams. I was talking to you, Cyrus, earlier about which team you want to actually make the 8th seed, and
I said New Orleans.
That could be because the implications are whoever makes 8th seed plays the Lakers in the first round, right? So I get that. Like it's gonna be a Zion LeBron series. That could be really fun for his first run around.
You know what else make it interesting? AD play against his old team.
Yeah, that's true.
that's very true.
That's true.
But
Love
one
the
thing
drama.
though, I watched New Orleans yesterday versus what's the team that they played yesterday?
Let's see. Keep going.
Ingram is really awkward when Zion is playing. it seems like he's trying to prove himself because it is his contract year, and he's forcing a lot of shots. I pretty much watched the whole game yesterday, and he was jacking up contested 2.3 points because whenever Zion gets the ball, he's in a pretty good position, but Ingram doesn't really have that freedom anymore when Zion wasn't there. So I don't know how the chemistry is gonna work.
Is it just like kind of like back in the day when both Shaq and Kobe are really young? They want to fight for the man of LA. Like they want to fight for the man of New Orleans right now.
I wouldn't agree to that just because Kobe's skill set is way better than Ingram. So I wouldn't exactly say Kobe was forcing shots, but based on the couple of games that I watched ever since Zion came back and Ingram came back, Ingram is actually really forcing the shots.
He's still young, right?
Well, I think what it also represents is because for Zion, like the game comes much easier. Like if you're watching Zion play, like he'll take a shot, and if he misses it, he's right back up there grabbing that board. That second jump is ridiculous. And he's super efficient. His field goal percentage is fantastic. And he's just doing a lot of really good things when he's on the court. When you contrast Ingram, who has to just work that much harder for everything he's doing.
And the fact that the play's not running through him anymore.
Yeah.
Like when Zion was out, majority of the play is through him. So there's pick and roll, there's pick and pop.
Yeah.
So right now, there's people posting up. So a lot of times it's ISO ball for Ingram, and I don't know if he's the best ISO player
In the team?
or in general.
In that team, you've got Drew, who's the other ball handler, right? I mean, arguably, Ingram is still going to get better, but this particular skill set, maybe it's just a matter of finding the chemistry between the both of them.
And they still have Lonzo Ball, right? Is he playing?
Yeah, but then the fact is they only have 30 games left.
Yeah.
So now that we're talking about the last 30 games,
Yeah.
I think New Orleans kind of need to make a decision if they want to sign Ingram long term, right?
Well, speaking of games remaining, so you mentioned that it's Portland, Pelican, New Orleans, and Memphis for the 8th seed, 3 teams jockeying for it. In terms of strength of schedule, New Orleans actually has the easiest remaining schedule for the last 20-something games.
Okay.
And Memphis has one of the harder ones. And then the other teams are kind of in the middle there. So it's, it's only like a 3-game difference between Memphis and Portland.
Yeah, the 3 games difference for a sub 500 team is hard to catch.
It is.
Because they're not even winning 50% of the games.
Not to mention for Portland, Dame is supposed to be maybe out for like another game or so. Because upon his initial groin injury pre-All-Star break, like he was supposed to be out 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, looking at the standing and looking at Portland for the past few years, I know I might be contradicting myself. I'd rather have either New Orleans, like you said, to be in the playoff, because that's going to force Portland to have some sort of a change. And Portland is not going to stand any chance against Lakers. I'm not saying New Orleans does, but for the reason that we mentioned before, Zion playing LeBron James and New Orleans playing Davis again, that would be way more exciting to watch compared to Portland or San Antonio being the 8th seed.
It's fun to see when AD go back to New Orleans and play in the home court, in the payoff. That would be fun.
And it goes both ways, right? Because the Lakers have, or the Pelicans have former Lakers players,
That's
right?
true.
Because you've got Ball and Ingram
Right.
and Hart.
So a lot of players have
There's
a lot of
tons
things to prove.
That's right. There's a lot of drama there. Okay, so you would say that your team to watch, Cyrus, is the Pelicans.
Yeah.
For the rest of the season. What about you, Will?
I would say Pelicans too.
Pelicans as well?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So my team to watch is the Rockets. We've already talked a lot about the Rockets, but I think this whole small ball thing is fascinating. It's a lot of fun to watch, especially for the shorter guys who keep wanting to root and feel like they have a place in the NBA.
And it's nice to see that you're back in the Westbrook banner.
I've always been a Westbrook. It's ride or die. It's always been about Russ. He's just, I mean, I don't like his shot selections a lot of the times, but he's super entertaining.
That's not what you said 3 weeks ago.
He has terrible shot selection. I agree.
So that's what bandwagon is, right?
Okay. So we can talk a little bit very quickly just about some of the big injuries that have happened lately. So what we have here is we have Jaren Jackson Jr., who plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. He is out for a little bit due to a sprained left knee. And then it could be like another week or so. And then Memphis has a really tough schedule coming up. And then there's also the game with the Pacers player, Jeremy Lamb. He's out for the rest of the season. And then there's Ben Simmons, who is going to miss an undetermined amount of time with a bad back.
Yeah, but I don't know about the whole Sixer injury update. But the last time we heard was Embiid was out indefinitely too.
That's true.
And then he came back, 3 weeks?
That's true. But that's the thing though, like even 2-3 weeks, like if you look at the standings right now, so the Sixers are currently 5th. They're only 2 games ahead of the Pacers for 6th. We're 6th, right? So that does not leave a lot of wiggle room. And if they just go on a losing streak, and let's say the Pacers start winning, like that could flip. And then they could, before they know it, become the 6th seed and have to play the Celtics in the first round.
So it's not much better if you're facing Miami right now.
If I'm the Sixers, I would rather play Miami.
Not Boston.
Then Boston?
Yeah.
Really?
Nah.
But you said Miami's going to
Actually,
make
that's
the
true.
Eastern Conference
Yeah,
Finals.
that's true. I take that back, yeah. If I'm the Sixers, I'd rather play the Celtics rather than Miami. But the bottom line is, if you're the Sixers, you don't want to go down, you want to go up, because you're a terrible away team. You're a great home team.
I doubt that Philadelphia can even get past the first round if they don't have home court.
Yeah. I mean, there has never been such a big disparity between home and away records than the Sixers have right now. And that's crazy. The Sixers also made a big change to their lineup. They moved Al Horford to the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who they put that into the number 4? So it's going to be Simmons, Richardson, Tobias Harris, Embiid, and Mike Scott.
So what I heard about Harford is, it's more like an excuse at this point, that he makes weaker players stronger, and he's like a floor general. So for him to be in the second unit, he's gonna pull the whole second unit up, especially with the Sixers' second unit not being so strong.
Yeah. Oh, right, because they picked up Glenn Robinson III and
And
Alec Burks.
Yeah.
And then they're starting Shake Milton. So today, Horford is in the starting lineup, but that's only because Simmons is injured.
Okay.
Yeah. So really, like, you have this Sixers team that everybody had thought would be at least in the conference finals, and it's not looking like that.
So I guess now is the time for Embiid to prove if he really is the best player in the league right now.
Yeah. I mean, as of this recording, the Sixers are up 105-98 to the Atlanta Hawks, and Embiid has 36 points.
Yeah, but it's the Hawks.
It's the Hawks. He should have that much. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not super optimistic on the Sixers. I think this injury to Simmons is going to be a bigger hit for them. And I think they're probably going to stay or drop in the standings, which means probably first round exit.
Well, I think it's good that Simmons was hurt for a while and Embiid was hurt for a while, just because like you mentioned a couple episodes ago, that this is really not going to last. So this is really going to show the management which player to keep if they were to break this up.
Yeah. Cyrus, that was your big, bold prediction.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they keep Simmons.
You think?
That's what I said.
You think they'll keep Simmons? Okay.
I still think that they will keep Simmons.
Interesting. Okay. I just think from a personality standpoint, like Joe is probably Philadelphia, right? If you think about the city. But,
So,
okay.
James, let me ask you a question. If they were to trade either Embiid or Simmons over the other 29 teams, which player will get more in return?
I think Simmons would get you more in return.
Just because he's younger?
No, because
He can't shoot though.
but the way the league is going right now, you play Simmons as a center, like you play Westbrook, right?
Also, we're circling back to Westbrook again.
Well, no, I mean it's working for right now. But what I'm trying to say is like Joel Embiid is fantastic, but he's not going to net you a lot. Also because he's injured. Like he's got that injury history
How
that
many
he was
games did he
worried about.
play this year over the course of, 55 games?
Let's check.
I think he played at least like 80% of it, right?
Simmons, yes, this year.
No, I'm talking about Embiid.
Embiid.
Because I mentioned that he has been proven relatively healthy this year. Even last year, I think it's his mindset that's really screwing him up compared to his physical injury.
Let's see. So year one, Embiid played 31 games. Year 263, year 364, and this year 41. And he should have 50 something games.
If he played all the games, it will
Yeah.
be 60.
Yeah. So he should have 60 games. So that's like almost 20 games off, right?
Yeah.
So that's not good.
But other team might worry about his injury history though.
That's why they wouldn't get as much back if they were trading him, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I think
Simmons.
that's going to be the least of Philadelphia's worry if they were going to choose one player over the other is about the return.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be the right pieces that come back, right? So whether you're building around Embiid or you're building around Simmons, like you want to get the right pieces. It could be getting JJ Redick back or something, but it's got to be the right pieces. You can't have this whole like two superstars whose skill sets don't fit. Yeah.
So in terms of when we were talking about Philadelphia and Atlanta, I have a shout out to Trae Young. He's playing like days like so good for the basketball game.
I mean, stats wise, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
50 point a game.
Yeah.
And the shot that he take, all from the logo.
Okay. So here's a question, and then maybe we'll leave it at this after that. Do you guys think in his 50-point game that Trae Young had a positive or negative plus minus?
Positive.
Because when did he play that 50-point game? Was that Friday?
If you score 50
Saturday.
points and if you have negative, that's pretty bad.
Well,
Because you score 50 points yourself already.
it's true. But the problem is, let's see. Okay, what do you think, Cyrus? Positive, negative?
If you ask, 50 point game. And he does give you assists and
Yeah, but that doesn't count towards.
So you
plus
know what?
minus.
So plus minus is basically if you're on the floor, is your team
better.
scoring more points or are they losing points?
Because Giannis is lights out when
Yeah.
it comes to plus minus.
Giannis is ridiculous because he's offense and defense, right?
Okay.
So he adds so much value. Now, single game plus minus, here's the spiel, right? Single game plus minus is never a good indicator of how one player does in any given game. It's too small of a sample size, but you want to have an average idea of how a player is doing by looking at plus minus across a lot of games.
Okay.
But why are you looking at one game then?
Well, the reason why is because Cyrus was talking about him playing well. So this 50-point game being sort of the ceiling, the peak of him playing well. And in that 50-point game, I'm still trying to look for it, so you guys keep talking.
So, Cyrus, do you think that he has a plus or a minus in that particular game?
I say plus.
I say plus maybe
I say
8
plus.
points to 9.
Let's see.
Was that Thursday that he had that 50-point game?
What
Oh
team-
yeah, it was Thursday. Okay, I found it. It was against the Miami Heat. Who
Okay.
were without Jimmy Butler for that game, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't know
there
why-
you go. Plus 10.
Plus 10. So I don't know why Trae Young was trash talking Butler when he wasn't even on the floor. I know that there was history between Butler and Trae, trash talk going back and forth.
Yeah.
But how do you trash talk someone who's not on the floor?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of rebuttal, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I was wrong. Butler did play that game. Butler was a plus 14.
How many minutes did he play?
He played 34.
Oh,
So he played a
34.
good game.
Oh, okay.
Butler was up, I think, the game after.
Okay.
But yeah, Trae Young is putting up the numbers, but they're not necessarily winning.
So
So
Phoenix pass out on Lucas and Trae.
yeah,
Typical Phoenix.
Yeah, and also Sacramento, right? Because they had number 2.
That's
They
true.
Is
drafted
that
Bagley.
Bagley? Yeah.
Yeah, they drafted Bagley. Okay, so we gotta call it there. Thanks everyone for listening. Please subscribe, rate and review us wherever you get your pods. We will catch you all on the next one.
Peace.